Greetings, friends around the world. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy Channel. Peace in the Middle East. Is it about to happen? Well, on August 13th, 2020, U.S. President Donald Trump sent out a tweet over Twitter of something called the Joint Statement of the United States, the State of Israel, and United Arab Emirates. It's also called the Abraham Accord. Many are excited about it. Others denounced it. The United Arab Emirates has essentially agreed to recognize Israel as long as it doesn't proceed right now with its annexation plans for Samaria and other areas. Let me read something about this from the Jerusalem Post. Israel, UAE reach historic peace deal. We can now make a wonderful future. Third ever peace treaty between Israel and an Arab state includes embassies, direct flights. The agreement suspends annexation, but Netanyahu says, I will never give up on our right to our land. Israel and the UAE agreed to full normalization relations in a phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday, marking the first peace treaty between Israel and an Arab country in 25 years. Israel agreed to suspend its planned extension of sovereignty over parts of Judea and Samaria to facilitate relations with the UAE and potentially other Arab and Muslim countries. The agreement will include establishing embassies and exchanging ambassadors, investments into the Israeli economy, trade, direct flights between Tel Aviv and Abu Dhabi, and investment in Israeli efforts to develop a coronavirus vaccine, as first reported in Jerusalem Post last month, and cooperation in matters of energy and water. An important element of the deal for the UAE is the expectation that its citizens would be able to visit the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the deal full formal peace with one of the strongest countries in the world. Well, as far as one of the strongest countries in the world, certainly not militarily, maybe economically, but is this full formal peace? Well, perhaps on paper, as far as Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, is concerned, but no. You've got many who are opposed to this, including the Palestinians. So let me read something from the Times of Israel. I never expected this poison dagger to come from an Arab country, Saeb Erekat, a senior Palestinian official and veteran negotiator, said Friday. You are rewarding aggression. You have destroyed with this move any possibility of peace between the Palestinians and Israelis. The Palestinian Authority issued a scathing statement in response to the move, calling it a betrayal of Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Palestinian cause, language clearly aimed at inflaming Arab and Muslim sentiment worldwide. The Palestinians have called for an urgent meeting of the Arab League and the 57-member Organization of Islamic Cooperation to condemn the move. So, does this mean that there will never be any kind of peace in the Middle East? No. Now, I'd like to read something from Breaking Israel News, because it claimed that this was a prophetic announcement, basically because the Abraham Accord, the term implies peace between two sons of Abraham, which would be Isaac, who is the father of Jacob, who's also known as Israel, and Ishmael, who's essentially the father of the Arab peoples. So let me read something here. Just a few hours after the agreement, Rabbi Tuli Josh Wander, a video reporter for Breaking Israel News, and Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz, a feature article writer for Breaking Israel News, had a video conference analyzing the implications of the Abraham Accords. It's huge, Wander opined. This agreement can open up future agreement with other Arab countries, which was actually mentioned. Berkowitz framed the political development in biblical terms as a meeting between Ishmael and Yaakov, or as we call it, Jacob. The Bible's all about the coming together of brothers, Berkowitz noted, citing a verse in Psalms. How good and how pleasant it is for that brothers dwell together, Psalm 133:1. We're actually seeing here Ishmael and Yaakov, brothers, coming back together in the modern world, Berkowitz explained. We are seeing a fixing now of the rift that happened in the Bible. Berkowitz noted the biblical verse describing the future of Ishmael. He shall be a wild man, his hand against everyone, everyone's hand against him. He shall dwell alongside all of his kinsmen, Genesis 16:12. Well, no. The deal with the United Arab Emirates is not the fulfillment of Psalm 133:1 or Genesis 16:12. Now, will we have any peace in the Middle East before Jesus returns? Yes, but it may take more war and conflict for that to happen. The Bible talks about a temporary type of peace that's going to come to the Middle East. I want to go to the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 9, starting in verse 26, and I'll be reading from the New King James Version of the Bible. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end of it will be with a flood. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then he, this is the one who's this prince, shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to the sacrifice and offering, and on a wing of abomination shall be one who makes desolate. Now this biblically prophesied prince who's going to confirm this deal is going to be a European leader who is later, in Daniel 11, called the King of the North. We know this is a European leader because it was the old Roman Empire under General Titus that destroyed Jerusalem and its temple back in 70 A.D. And the old Roman Empire covered much of the continent of Europe. With this map we've got up here, you see that the Middle East and North Africa were also part of the old Roman Empire. But those parts of the Middle East, particularly the area, for example, we now call Turkey, was basically filled with Greeks and some other Europeans before the Turks came later. As well as some of these parts in North Africa, particularly the Alexandria area, again, were mostly Greeks or ruled by Greeks and Romans. Now, getting back to Daniel 9:27, the 1 week aspect of this deal, since at least the 3rd century, has often been understood to be a 7-year deal. And it's going to be broken in the middle of it, which is after 3.5 years. Now, this break is mentioned in Daniel 9:27 is also referred to in Daniel 11:31. So let's read that. And forces shall be mustered by him. This is the prince who is now called the King of the North. And he shall defile the sanctuary fortress. Then they shall take away the daily sacrifices and place there the abomination of desolation. Again, the him is this European King of the North. And this will set off a series of events which results in the start of the Great Tribulation, the destruction of the power of with the strongest fortresses, Daniel 11:39. Of course, that would be the United States and its British descendant allies at this time. And then the destruction of a confederation of nations in the Middle East and North Africa, led by someone the Bible calls the King of the South. And you can read about that in Daniel 11:40-43. As far as the Middle East peace goes, it should be pointed out that the deal that's going on right now isn't the one that is about to be confirmed. This is simply not it. But a temporary peace deal is going to come. And what happens, some are going to claim it's real peace. Yet the Bible prophesies that there will be various false proclamations of peace. You can read about that in Jeremiah 6:14 and Ezekiel 13:9-16. Now I'd like to read something from the New Testament, which I believe is related to the deal in Daniel 9:27. This is from the Apostle Paul, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, starting in verse 3. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that they should overtake you as a thief. Now the coming King of the North, the one who was the prince who confirmed the deal in Daniel 9:27, essentially will be promising a humanistic, satanic utopia. And he's going to be accompanied by signs and lying wonders that most people are going to fall for. We can read about that in 2 Thessalonians, this time chapter 2, and we'll start in verse 9. Because he's called the lawless one here. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason, God will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believed the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And while real Christians will not be totally deceived by this, many are going to be caught off guard. They won't recognize the deal when it happens. We've got an article about that at the cogwriter.com website called The Peace Deal, Daniel 9:27. Yet Christians that do recognize the confirmation, they're going to realize that in essence, it's a countdown to the Great Tribulation in the coming hour of trial Jesus foretold of in Matthew 24, verses 21 to 22, and that he promised to protect the faithful Philadelphian Christians from in Revelation 3, verse 10. By the way, for those who think all Christians are going to be protected, you should read Revelation 12, 14 to 17, which shows two Christian groups, one who gets protected and one who does not. But what about peace in the Middle East? I want to go over something from the late David John Hill, the December 1978 edition of the Old Plain Truth magazine. There will be no peace until King Christ personally rules all earth in his kingdom soon to come. Peace is ever elusive. Men speak of peace and make war. Peace treaties are for the purpose of giving men time to gather strength for the next war, and are of themselves all too often the very cause of the next war. We forget the prophet's stern warning to beware of those who say, "Peace, peace," where there is no peace. Jeremiah 6:14, 8:11. We forget the repeated maxim, "There is no peace, saith my God, to the wicked," Isaiah 57:21. Now notice something that the Bible teaches will happen after Jesus returns. This is Isaiah chapter 2, verse 3. Many people shall come and say, "Come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Keeping God's laws properly does lead to peace. That's part of the good news of the kingdom of God. And we have more of that in our free booklet, The Gospel of the Kingdom of God, which is available in over 100 languages at www.ccog.org if you want to read more about that. The time of no more war is coming. If you're in Isaiah 2, I want to go to verse 4, the next verse. Talking about Jesus, "He shall judge between the nations and rebuke many people. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore." But human beings, apart from submitting entirely to God, are not going to bring peace about. Even though they're apparently going to bring about a temporary multi-year peace in the Middle East, but as it mentions in Daniel 9:27, Daniel 11:31, that deal is going to be broken. Human beings apart from God don't know the way to peace. It's going to take the return of Jesus Christ and the establishment of the millennial kingdom of God to bring real peace to the Middle East. The deal with the United Arab Emirates is not the answer, but the kingdom of God is. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy Channel.